Welcome back to Super Smoke Bros, episode 33, where, where we bring you stories behind the people turning their barbecue passion into purpose. Today, we're fired up to share the journey of a man who's not only a 21-year veteran of the Air Force, but took his world traveling experiences and blended flavor with heart and community. Mr. Mike Starr, the owner and driving force behind Blazing Star BBQ. From his earliest memories around the grill to launching a veteran-owned barbecue brand that's making waves, Mike's story is about grit, creativity, and serving up something meaningful. One spice, one sauce, one plate at a time. We'll explore how he built Blazing Star BBQ, the inspirations behind his signature fusion of flavors, and what it takes to keep the coals hot and the passion burning in the barbecue world. So grab your favorite barbecue snack, settle on in, and get ready to dive into the smoky, spicy, and deeply personal journey of Mike Starr right now on Super Smoke Bros.
My pleasure. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Colin, take it away, man.
All right. I'll get off with our first question. So really just kind of, if you could share with us how you got this started, what drew you to barbecue? How did you kind of develop sort of the techniques and habits that you have, the things that you like to do, and just kind of what was your introduction to the barbecue world?
For sure. Yeah, so I'm Mike Starr, Blazing Star BBQ, and I right out of high school, I joined the military, United States Air Force. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do in life, but right away it just opened up to my journey and being able to meet so many different people from different cultures and stuff like that. And as soon as I was in the military, we would have like, deployments or parties at the shop and stuff like that when we would shut down early. And they were always looking for somebody to man the grill. And I was just like, hey, I'll be that guy. And it was just something that I enjoyed doing. I also learned that, if I was the guy on the grill, that I didn't get stuck with some of the crappy duty, so to speak, right? So I kind of learned that really quickly. And at the same time frame, I enjoyed right away, because we would put in a lot of long hours, whether it be at work or deployed or whatever. And people just appreciated something good cooked, especially after whether you're just having chow hall or MREs or whatever. So having something off the grill, people enjoyed it. It put a smile on their face, and that was like instant gratification for me. And then I just continued, as I grew on into it. I'd travel around the world. I would get to experience a lot of different, flavors. I tell people all the time, I grew up in North Carolina, so I grew up on salt, pepper, butter, and bacon grease. And, you can imagine as, a country boy from North Carolina, that's what I grew up on. And then traveling around the world to, Europe and Asia, South America, and just getting introduced to all these different flavor bombs, so to speak. My palate was blown, and I would come back home and I couldn't get it exactly. Like you could go to restaurants, whether it be European, German, Asian, whatever it may be, but it wouldn't be the same as what I would get in those countries, right? So I just started experimenting, playing around more and more, and just kind of started, not necessarily just barbecue either. It was just I was a foodie in general, enjoyed it, but barbecue was the kind of the easiest way for me to kind of present that food, especially whether it be at the shop parties or block parties and base housing and stuff like that. People would come over and bring me like ribs or steaks or whatever, and I would just throw down.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Your company definitely took off. I mean, it's super popular. Can you tell us about how you sort of made it into a brand, or what are some of the challenges you found?
For sure. So I didn't this wasn't something I ever dreamed of or thought about doing, right? I wanted to open up a restaurant at one point in my life. Like I always wanted to open up a restaurant. But then I helped some friends open up 4 or 5 restaurants in Las Vegas. And the more I started helping them, I realized, like, I don't know if that's what I really want to do, right? Uh, then pre COVID, like early 2020, before COVID hit, they hit me up again and said, "Hey, we've got another restaurant." Well, all the other restaurants they had were more Filipino Asian fusion type restaurants. And I showed up to this restaurant and it said breakfast, barbecue, and bar. I'm like, "Hey, what's up with this?" And they're like, "Oh, no, we're doing more like a barbecue soul food." Like, her husband was from Chicago, so they were just going a different route with everything. And they were like, "Hey, we need your normal help." I did a lot of IT technical stuff. I would install security cameras, stereo equipment. I would build their websites. I would do their create their social media, their Yelp and stuff like that. But they were like, "Hey, we need that plus your barbecue background, because I did a lot of catering and stuff like that." So they had a lot of questions, for the help on that. And I helped them with that. And then they were like, "Don't you make your own like barbecue sauce?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got a couple." They're like, "Well, won't you bring us like your favorite one, and we'd like to try it out." So I brought it in. They tried it. They were like, "Man, this is good. Can we use it in our restaurant?" I was like, "Sure. How's that work?" They were like, "You make it and we buy it from you." I'm like, "Cool." So that's really how it started. I created a social media page. I created the Blazing Star brand at that time frame. Before, years prior, I used to create like labels on little bottles and stuff, and I would write Blazing with a star and then BBQ. My last name is Starr, obviously too. So everything I've already done business wise, I've always put that in there. So I had the logo created by one of my graphics guys, and we started helping them out. It was doing good. We were making 5 gallons a week. Then it went to 20 gallons a week. And then COVID hit. And when COVID hit, it put them in a bad situation. They weren't an established restaurant, So people, when they were able to open back up, people weren't really going there for to-go orders as much, as the stuff that people were more recognizable, especially fast food and stuff like that. So, anyways, I kind of started promoting the sauce on social media, and people were asking, like, "Hey, how do I buy it?" I was like, "You got PayPal?" And I was selling it. I was making it at the house, just stamping a label. I tried to reach out to the health department. I couldn't get anybody to answer any questions for me. So I just went with it, right? Just started doing it. People were buying the sauces. And then it was getting so much that I couldn't keep up with it with my normal job and stuff. So I found a co-packer down at the Shed, Ocean Springs, Mississippi, which I actually had previous ties from the military, like going to their restaurant. They started making it. I jumped on TikTok. Things kind of blew up on TikTok for me. Uh, I decided to come out with my seasonings, or a handful of my seasonings. It turned out the people liked the seasonings more than the sauces, and then just one thing led to another. 2022, end of 22, I quit my job, went full time. I was probably in about 35 stores nationwide at that time frame. Now we're in a little over 2,000 stores, about to double that to 4,000 in the coming months.
Holy cow.
That's incredible. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I know you asked, obstacles and stuff like that. I think the biggest obstacle is there's no book, there's no, right way or wrong way. It's, a lot of lot of work, a lot of stuff that people don't see. You know, you got to believe in what you're doing. I think you got to be passionate about it. I've started multiple businesses in my life. I've ran several, and I think all of those other businesses, like any business that people get into, they get into it because they want to make money, right? They want to, be successful and what have you. But this was the first thing I was ever like truly passionate about, and I think if I wasn't passionate about it, I probably would have given up on it, years ago, right? So, uh, yeah.
Cool. Very cool. I have a question. And I don't know why Z always gives me this question, but I got a vegetarian question. Just to be clear, I am meat through and through.
Right,
Although
right.
I do have some vegetarian favorites, I'm not going to lie. But anyway, so what are your thoughts on the increasing popularity of smoked vegetables? Barbecue smoked vegetable options
Yeah.
that are starting to come out with seasonings and or sauces.
Yeah.
How do you approach creating flavorful dishes in particular without meat?
Oh, well, it's funny you mentioned that because it's like, as I do events and travel, of course, I'm a meat guy. Like, I don't even, it really, I didn't even used to cook a lot of sides. I mean, I would do sides, but I would leave that, to my wife or other people. I would say, hey, y'all bring the sides, I'll cook the meats, right?
Yeah.
So it really wasn't until things picked up, with the business and me doing cooking videos and stuff like that, where it was like, okay, I got to start cooking sides and doing all this other stuff to showcase my products and show people how you can use my products, not just in traditional barbecue and stuff like that. Matter of fact, at that time frame, I even took off on my seasonings. They don't say barbecue. The logo where it says Blazing Star BBQ, I took the barbecue off. So it says Blazing Star because I didn't want people to think that it was just for barbecue. Because if you make a well balanced seasoning or sauce, it can be used on anything and everything. But to the vegetable side of the house, I have a local event that I do here all the time. It's a local liquor store. They do tastings, and I go and cook there and do samples. They sell my products and stuff like that. The owner and his wife, uh, they always have us over. Well, they have their sister lives here now, or his wife's sister lives here now, and she's a vegetarian. And it's always like, hey, Mike, what are you going to cook me? And so I had to start, doing more, vegetable dishes. So I would start grilling up zucchini, grill corn, stuffed bell peppers. A new one that I love making, it's a big hit, is shishito peppers. I take shishito peppers with olive oil and then just season it with our beef rub and then throw them on the grill and just, get a nice little char on and pull them off. And it just, man, I could just snack on a whole like tub of those shishito peppers, like real talk. And that's not something for me I would ever do, right? I was always, meat, So
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's funny. Like until a couple of years ago, I thought when I made eggs, like salt and pepper, that's the only thing I could put on there. And I
right.
don't know why it never occurred to me to start putting rubs and stuff on eggs, but
Oh yeah,
that's the way to go.
for
I don't know.
sure.
Yeah, it took me so long to
Yeah.
figure that out.
I tell people all the time, like my beef rub is it sounds so basic, but it's far from basic. It's got so many like Asian, Spanish, and fusion flavors. But I tell people all the time, like anything that you would normally just use salt and pepper or garlic with, grab that and put it on there, right? Sprinkle it on top, and you'll be surprised like how much it elevates these simple things like eggs and vegetables.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For sure.
So Mike, man, you're all over social media. It's awesome. That's how I came across you. And I just watched how you're making like this taco with ground beef on it and making I was watching that the other day and stuff. But, one thing that, what is one thing that amateur pit masters like ourselves that we don't see on your social media when it comes to barbecue?
Well, I would say probably the thing, because a lot of the videos you see on social media, it's all real, compact. It's like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
Like this is start to finish how you would do it. But the thing is like with me, like uh trying to showcase my products and stuff like that, I cook on so many different things. One day I'm on a smoker, offset smoker. The next day I'm on a pellet smoker. The next day I might be on a griddle. Next day a drum smoker, or on my oven, cooking those beef tacos or whatever. But what you don't see is the fire management, so to speak. And I say that goes even to cooking on a stove or cooking on a drum or cooking on an offset, smoker or a pellet grill. Really that's what cooking is about. It's about controlling your temperatures. It's about knowing what's proper doneness, and resting everything properly. Those are the key things when it comes to barbecue and cooking in general. So, those are things that kind of get missed in the steps of the social media videos. I try to do more on the YouTube side, which I need to do more, the long form stuff, to kind of educate people more on that stuff, because that's the hard part, and once you dial that in, everything else becomes easy. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. I get a lot of recipes from TikTok and stuff, and then I'll be going through it and I'm like, oh wait, but what do they like? They might not have said like what kind of wood they use, or what temperature. Some of those more
Yeah.
finer details that aren't going to make like the TikTok 1 minute cut or whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I've started um, more so on Instagram. Like it depends on the platform I post it on. Depends on how much description I give, right? In the actual description. But definitely on Instagram and YouTube, I give more information in the description. But also, if it's a true recipe video, I actually now have gotten to the point where I have it on my website, right? So you can go to my website. You have a recipe section, and in the recipe section, it's going to have that video, right, for a reference, but it's going to have a detailed description with times and temps and what did I use, quantities, all that description. So I started doing that because of that reason, because I was always getting those questions like, hey, time, temp, and this, that, and that. And you would repeat it like 500 times, right? Because, it's like nobody reads the other comments and goes,
Yeah.
it's already been answered like 10 times ahead of but they still do it. I still get asked all the time. I'm like, so.
Yeah. All right. So is there a favorite type of wood that you have, or what type of wood do you prefer to use? And you kind of stick with the same types of wood for the same type of food, or do you like to switch some things up?
For the most part, I'm a big pecan and post oak fan when it comes to woods of my preference, right? But unfortunately, out here in Nevada, I don't get either one of those, right? So I was getting a lot of that shipped in, from Texas. We've got a spot in Vegas that gets it, but even their stuff was just getting terrible for me to get. So now I'm actually working, with a company out in California that can get me almond wood and canyon oak. So that's some new stuff that I'm playing around with. But in all reality, pecan and post oak are my two favorites. Now, as far as how do I use them and when do I use them, I pretty much use post oak for anything that I'm doing beef wise, right? And everything else, I kind of stick to pecan. I like a milder wood. I like using fruit woods, but once again, it also comes down to accessibility and stuff like that. Typically, you know, uh, for your pork and chicken and fish or anything like that, I like to use a milder wood. And then, if I'm using cooking beef like a brisket or some beef ribs, I like to do like a post oak or some kind of oak. I don't really like going hickory or mesquite. Uh, just for me, it's just a little heavy. But that's just a preference thing. I really want the meat to shine. So I more want that smoke to be subtle and not overpowering.
I'm the same. I agree with you. I don't like the overpowering smoke in anything. And
Yeah.
I tend to smoke stuff a little warmer, so
Mhm.
a little not fast. So I usually like stick around 250, but like then you're
Mhm.
not smoking as long, and then you're able to wrap or whatever you do to
Mhm.
finish meat. I agree. I agree with you 100%. I love just a little bit of smoke, nothing crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
When I
Well,
lived in
go ahead.
when I lived in Vegas, probably about 15 years ago, I planted a mesquite tree. I was
Yeah.
hoping one day I could chop it down and use it.
Right. I do get a lot of mesquite wood out here, and I do use it a lot for open fire cooking. So I do like using mesquite for open fire cooking. It's a harder wood. It's gonna give you hotter coals. It's gonna burn longer, And when I'm cooking over open fire, you're not worried about the overpowering smoke because it's only kissing the meat. It's not in an enclosed environment, so that it's not getting taken over by the mesquite. So I do love using mesquite wood when it comes to open fire cooking.
Nice. We're curious, are there pitmasters that you like to follow, and what pitmasters are you sort of interested in and why?
Well, I mean, I have to go back to the original, probably guy that a lot of people followed. He's still somebody I look up to tremendously, and that's Malcolm Reed. Everybody knows how to barbecue right. Everybody I know has probably watched several of his videos and learned something from him along the way. But now, fortunate enough that there's so many people in the industry, whether it be Al Fragoni for open fire cooking, TFTI, Chuck's Flavor Train, 406 Barbecue. There's so many of my good friends now that, I'm able to, not only get inspired by, but to learn from, constantly. So that's the beauty of this. There's so many people out there. There's people comes up new all the time, and I'm like, wow, I'm blown away by what people can do. And that's the beauty of barbecue, man. There's so much out there. I kind of I'm one of those people that you'll never hear me say this is the only way, this is the right way, or any of that stuff because I don't believe there's a such thing in that, right? I learn every day, and I'm blessed to be learning from a lot of people that I look up to, and fortunately, most of them I can call friends now too. So,
oh, great!
It's actually a good lead. I mean, when I first started barbecuing, I thought like you got the classics, right? Ribs, brisket, some just the sausages or the chicken thighs, and now I really appreciate the innovation in the industry right now. Because that's
for
what it
sure.
really started as, and that's what the classics are. And I love the classics, but I also appreciate all the new stuff and all the
Yep.
innovation. And that kind of the next question is, how do you balance tradition with innovation in your cooking? I like to do that myself, where it's like I love traditional stuff, but I also love experimenting, trying something new, different flavor profiles, maybe different seasons or whatever might be, smoke, that I've learned over the years, some people like yourself. So how do you kind of balance like the tradition within your cooking?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny talk about that. Like even when I said back in the day, I really wanted to have my own restaurant. One of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to cook traditional barbecue, but with a spin, right? And I still kind of do that today with everything I do. When it comes to cooking, whether it be cooking a brisket or be cooking a pork butt, I'll use traditional methods, but the end result is always going to be something different, right? Because I like, getting creative. I like making something, taking pork belly and turning it into you know, smoking a pork belly and turning it into a pork belly banh mi sandwich, or taking pulled pork and making pulled pork lumpia out of it. Um, um, Even traditional, whether it be slaws or recipes, I like kicking them up. Something that maybe used to be just kind of like, let's call it, I won't call it bland, but we'll call it like, it's good, right? It's still good. Like even
Yeah.
when I talk about salt, pepper, butter, and bacon grease, that's good, right? But at the same time frame, now I want to kick it up. I want to take it to another level, right? Because I kind of believe that if you cook something the same way all the time, it becomes boring, right? And I just like, putting a flair to it, and I'll still use the same technique in making it, but just throw a twist in there and uh, make it unique and make it interesting, make people want to try it, right? Because they haven't seen maybe that method or that flavor profile or whatever.
I mean, a lot of your recipes that, as I was looking through them got that theme of, like for example, the sloppy Joe tater tot casserole. That one really like caught my eye right away. I was like, man, I'm going to make that for sure.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff, you got is very traditional stuff, or, stuff that, maybe you had in your childhood, right? Like the childhood favorites, and you blend it together.
We all had sloppy joes and tater tots, but now let's combine it together and make one dish out of it.
Right.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Mike, it's funny that you mentioned 406 Barbecue and Al Fragoni earlier, because they both were on the podcast, and they both mentioned you too as well. So that's kind of
okay.
that's really cool.
Cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. I heard that. I'm like, oh yeah. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Our paths have crossed the way it is, and when I mentioned them too specifically because of styles of cooking and stuff that they do, the fusion and stuff like that. I've learned a lot from both of them, and been fortunate enough to be cooking with both of them. Heck, all over now. So it's great to see. To watch. Like Al Fragoni, me and him have been doing this together for over 5 years now, and now we're organizing events together and all kinds of stuff. So it's cool because you get to see, like, it's my passion, it's their passion, but now we get to see each other kind of just grow in this industry together. And now we're just doing a lot of crazy stuff together too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think 406 probably gets sick of me because I still text him all the time. But he's such a good dude that with questions and stuff like that, he just right back and helps me out tremendously. It's amazing.
Yep.
So
love it.
Yeah. So Mike, what is the most memorable or challenging barbecue experience you have had, and did you learn from it? Anything from it?
Man, well, I tell you, challenging experience. I've been so many different things that I've had to do, and that are all new, like for me. But we mentioned Al Fragoni. Me and him have kind of been working on this open fire meetup for years, and then we started turning it into part of it into a competition, and I kind of took it as a challenge, right? And I wanted to like build it into something bigger. I wanted to make it different than all the other competitions that were out there. And Al had a lot of pushback with me. He was like, I don't know about this. And then eventually he just said, Mike, just run with it, right? Man, we did. And the first year we did it, it was super cool. We had Tuffy Stone, Jess Prowse, and Mark Lambert were part of it, and they were praising it. They were like, this is incredible, right? And then last year we made it bigger, right? And we had a lot of stuff going on. We were in the process of, trying to close a deal with Memphis in May to bring the Open Fire World Championship to Memphis in May. we brought in Malcolm Reed, Heath Riles, and Meet Mitch to be our finals judges this year. And anyways, like I said, Malcolm has always been one of those guys that I've looked up to. And, he asked me when we're about ready to start judging finals, he's like, how am I supposed to judge these? And so I supposed to judge them hard or kind of have the kid gloves on, because a lot of these people competing are not real big competition people, right? And I told him, I said, look, these individuals are some serious cooks. They come from all over the world, and they want to hear your honest feedback. They don't want the kid gloves. They want you to judge them hard and give them the full effect. And anyways, after about two teams they judged, they looked at me and said, how are we supposed to judge this? This is insane. It's all incredible. But afterwards, having Malcolm say this was the best barbecue event he's ever been a part of in his life was like, whoa, right? So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, to hear him say that and, all the work that we put into it. And like I said, it was a challenge that I took on, and like I wanted it, but at the same time frame, it's you don't know how it's going to end up until you actually do it. So I guess that would probably be the most challenging thing in my mind, and then rewarding afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that meetup event is an incredible thing that we've all like kind of looked at, and I think we're gonna try and get there one day. Hopefully, we can make it work.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to. We haven't announced it officially, but I'm gonna announce it on here. We've announced it to our group, but it hasn't went live to the public. But October 22nd, 23rd, and 24th is the new dates for this year's Open Fire Meetup in Hondo, Texas. So
Hondo. Yeah, Al invited us. He's like, if you guys want to come and podcast down there, come on down.
Heck
So,
yeah. I highly recommend it. I mean,
yeah.
for so many things. I mean, it's unbelievable experience, but nowhere else will you be able to. Those first 2 days is where the networking happens, where the opportunities happen to be able to interact. This year we had over 500 people, from like 27 countries. So that's not even open to the public. That's private, right? And so if you get that invite and are able to come those 2 days, it's priceless. That's all I can say. It's absolutely priceless to be able to talk and rub elbows with some of the greats in the industry. And then the event itself that's on Saturday is just mind blowing to see also.
Awesome. Well, if we're going to do our best to get down there this year.
Heck yeah. Love to see y'all out there.
Yeah.
What we can do. All right, so you just talked about the meetup for quite a bit and working with guys like Malcolm Reed, Al Fragoni, Heath Riles, and also talked about your beginnings, just kind of volunteering to be the grill guy. So did you ever imagine, maybe when you were the grill guy, that your barbecue journey would become what it is and that it would be inspiring to wannabe barbecue people like ourselves, and just kind of what does that mean to you?
Yeah, I tell you, it never imagined it, right? No different than, when I first started making the sauce for that restaurant. I thought it was cool just to have that, right? But then to even think that I would have a product, and then it would be in a store, and now be in several thousand stores nationwide. We're about to launch in Home Depot nationwide with 3 products. Like I would have never imagined anything like that, right? It was not my goal. It was not a vision, but once it started, I kept, as people started supporting me, it made me want to do it. I mean, I can remember being happy about getting 300 followers on Instagram, and thinking, this is cool. People are actually watching what I'm doing, and now, watching people use my products day in and day out, they're inspiring me too, because I'm I'm getting new ideas on what I can do with my products, right? It's no different like when we came out with these products. It's not like I go, oh, I think this product would be great on this, right? It wasn't like that, right? And it wasn't until people started using my products, and that you realize like, oh wow, okay, this is wild. And yeah, and now I want to help. Like anytime somebody reaches out to me all the time, I can't tell you how many times I have a conversations with people that I see coming up, and they're asking me questions, and I try to get back, right? Because I believe that support is a two-way street, you know. Um, Bottom line, I'm not here if I'm not getting the support. I'm not here if people like y'all are not giving me an opportunity to tell my story, right? So I look at it this way: the more that happens, the more I'm able to continue to do what I'm able to do. So it never gets old, watching new people use my products and ask me questions for help on, how do I use this smoke, or what do you think with this method in charcoal, or what do you think about which product I should use for cooking this? It's humbling, and it's a great feeling, you know, to see where it's come, and now I just try to figure out how I can keep this train rolling.
I know exactly the feeling that you're talking about. We had the opportunity to be at Meat Fest, a festival up in Green Bay in Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden, we had these, small opportunities to meet and greet or answer questions and just kind of, but then the person that was leading the event came up to us and said, hey, we had someone drop out on the main stage. You guys want to do a session on the main stage? So like, we're kind of like, oh, sure. And we kind of got up there, and people were asked, like you're saying, they're asking you just tons of questions and just feeding off their energy. And it was a really good feeling to, like you said, to help people out, that are looking to get into barbecue or just want simple questions answered, just feeding off that energy like that. It was quite the high. I'm not gonna
Heck
lie.
yeah.
Like, it was pretty cool.
No, for sure. It is. It really is. You never know when you get up in there. I think back to the first time I got on a Home Depot stage at Memphis in May. You just don't know how that's going to be. And then all of a sudden you're in your element, and then you start doing what you do, and then people start asking questions, and it just makes it easier to roll it out because it's what you do. It's what you love. It's, yeah.
That's great. All right. So it's 130 degrees, or it's one of those 2 rainy days that you get per year, and you can't use grill or smoker. What are you making that doesn't involve smoke or fire or anything like that? Any of the
Man, uh, I, I'll go to it. Like, matter of fact, tomorrow it's calling for rain, right? They're calling for rain here. Actually, it's funny you asked that. And I was actually thinking about what I was going to cook tomorrow, and I think I'm actually going to do a red beans and rice dish tomorrow. So yeah, I'm always trying to figure out like, hey, what do I come up with dish wise? I love uh, making spaghetti. It's one of those things. My 2 oldest kids love when I make spaghetti. My youngest daughter always requests spaghettis. Like, if it'll be a while, like if I haven't cooked spaghetti in a while, my daughter will be like, "Hey, you gonna make spaghetti? I really miss your spaghetti. I haven't made it in a while." And it's like, yeah, because I'm always cooking outside doing something else. But yeah, I enjoy cooking inside too. And like you said, we don't have much. We don't get much rain, so when I do, I definitely have to get creative. Or the wind. Do you know how the wind gets here too? We had that today too. Wind. I had a plan. I was going to start a series of cooks, and then it was like, oh, not probably going to work out with the wind today. So, yeah.
Nice. Well, I got a question. This is one I've been kind of waiting to ask because I just love hearing about people's lives and what they do outside of barbecue. So what is the world wants to know? What does Mike Starr do when he's not barbecuing? What does he like to do?
Well, I do like to. I used to be big into like bowling and shooting pool, but as I kind of got away from those, especially with the business and everything else. But now I like going off roading in on the trails out here with my side by side, or just hanging out with my friends, sipping on some bourbon. I do a lot of bourbon hunting when I travel now.
Nice.
Actually, I've started adding that to my YouTube channel because I've become a big, just I wouldn't call myself, I'm a collector, but I enjoy sipping on some bourbon and, hanging out. So, yeah.
So, Mike, beyond the quality of meat and like the process of smoking, what do you believe is the secret to truly great barbecue?
We kind of touched on it a little earlier, but really it's controlling your temperatures and making sure that you're hitting your doneness, like the true doneness, not what the food and health tells you is proper, because that's a standard, but it's not accurate, you know. So, and to touch on that, I'll do chicken wings for an example, right? For chicken wings, a lot of people make chicken wings. They cook them to about 165, maybe 170 because that's their standard. But that gives you a rubber chicken wing. So I take my chicken wings to 195, 200, 200 plus. It just really all depends. I'm kind of looking for a texture on the outside. I'm wanting that chicken wing to break down. And then with your larger meats, it's getting it to that probe tenderness, right? Not, you always get, oh, time and temp. Well, no, there's more to it than time and temp, right? There's a range. I can tell you that there's a range that I know meats will be done in a certain area, but it could be 2 degrees, 3 degrees, 5 degrees difference depending on the meat, the quality of it and everything else. So I'm going more for a feel, a probe tenderness. And then the last step is that rest with it, right? And each meat is different, each protein is different, but having that rest in there, you put in all that work, and then you don't allow that meat to rest properly. And it could be the difference between good and bad, in reality.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. The probe temp was kind of a eureka moment for me when I was first getting into it. I was taking like pork butt, for example. I just like, 202, 203, time to take it off. But now I start checking like 197 and I'll kind of check it. And then if it needs to go a little longer, I'll check it a little later. And now sometimes it'll be 198, 199 when I pull it, or it might be 202, 203.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Been a lot better.
Exactly. It makes a huge difference, because in reality, meats have more than one stall point too, by the way, especially your bigger proteins. They all have that stall point that's, a lot of people see in that 150, 165 range or whatever, right? But believe it or not, they also have another stall when they get up to that top temperature, right? And that stall could happen at 198. It could happen at 203, right? And what it'll do, you'll see it. I've done so many cooks where I've seen that it holds, it could hold on that one temperature for like 20 minutes. And it's not like the big stall. It's not a stall that's going to last like an hour and a half, but it's one of those where it's riding up in that last stage. Like it's going from 185 to 198 like that, right? Like it's going up a degree every minute or two, right? But then it hits that, say 198 or 202 or whatever, and it'll hit that and then it'll stay there for like 10, 15 minutes. And that's actually in that zone of where it clicks over to the next step, and then boom, it's perfect, right? So that's
Great tip.
kind of a tip out there that something I've seen.
So you're saying once it gets through that 10, 15 minute mini stall,
Yep.
that's a lot of times that's going to be right there.
That's when it's perfect. That's when it's perfect. Yeah.
So it'll be like 201 for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Hits 202, you pull it.
Yeah, if you're watching, if you're steady watching, and nowadays it's easy to watch with all the devices they have out there, you'll watch it in that stage where it goes, oof, like it just starts shooting up. Like I said, it'll go up a degree, almost every minute or two, right? In that last stage. But then it hits that stall and then it'll hang out there. It can be hanging for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then it pops to that next degree. That's just from what my experience of what I've seen.
Okay. Great.
So
great tip.
All right. So Mike, that is the questions for today. And we always end with what we call like the sizzle round, where we go and just kind of give questions. You might have answered a couple of these through it too. So if you did, we can skip over it or if you want to repeat it for our listeners.
no problem.
And so when we were at that meat fest, we found out that our listeners, this is like one of their favorite thing is to see what all these, people they look up to and they watch and they take recipe from, buy their spices, buy their rubs from, what they kind of like can really resonate with you with this. So we just have some basic questions about barbecue, and go ahead. It's when we ask you a question, you can say short answer, long answer, explain, whatever you like. So sizzle round for you. So Petey, start us off with the sizzle round.
Here we go. Favorite cut of meat to barbecue with?
Ooh, so many. I kind of have to say, used to be ribs. I cook it all the time, but now I kind of say pork belly just because it's so versatile. There's so many different ways I can cook it and utilize it. So yeah, I think pork belly.
All
right. Favorite rub?
Favorite rub. It would be easy for me to say my pork and rub because that's like my OG. It's the one I use. It's considered a crowd pleaser when I go to events and stuff like that. Reaper rub's my number one seller, but I'd have to say my scorpion rub because I like that little extra heat. It's a little more intense flavor, and I like just sprinkling on anything and everything.
Like eggs.
Yeah, let's go.
Favorite side?
Favorite side? Wow. This is probably going to sound basic, but one of the favorite sides I like judging restaurants on is mac and cheese. I'm a mac and cheese sucker, but I like elevated mac and cheese. It can't be basic, and I like making mac and cheese. I like getting creative with mac and cheese, and I'd say mac and cheese.
All right. Favorite dessert, using the pit or not using the pit?
I don't make a lot of desserts. Once again, I let somebody else bring them. I do like, doing some peaches, some grilled peaches with some scorpion rub on top. That's pretty good. Not too many people will look at that as a dessert. I make some empanadas with cream cheese and like peaches or mangoes and stuff like that. But I'm a sucker right now. Like real talk, anything like give me a Biscoff like cheesecake.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I haven't made the video about it, but I've killed a couple of those Biscoff no bake cheesecake tubs or whatever, just because I love them. That's the fat kid in me on that one.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right, this is a popular question: preferred smoker or grill?
Ooh, man, that's too hard. I'll do this. My favorite pellet smoker is a Yoder pellet smoker, my YS640S. My favorite open fire right now is my Yoder smoker Santa Maria. I got a custom offset smoker, and then cotton gin drum smoker I love, and then my old trusty Weber kettle. I probably do more cooks on my Weber kettle than probably anything. So if that's the answer, it would be that. But yeah.
No, it's funny we asked that question, and you're not the first person to say, "Oh, my old trusty Weber kettle."
Yeah.
No, there's so much you can do with it. It's super versatile. And if I want to do a quick cook and I don't want to do a whole lot to it, I can set it up real quick, 2-zone method, and cook about anything and everything on it.
Yep. What's your go-to smoking temperature?
For smoking, 250 degrees. I used to be back in the day low and slow. But if I'm on a traditional smoker, whether it be a pellet smoker or an offset smoker, 250 degrees is like my happy zone. If I'm on a drum smoker, I'll do hot and fast, but traditionally 250, it's just that happy zone for me. I get that imparted smoke that I want, but at the same time frame, get it cooked in a reasonable time frame too.
All right. You already answered this one, Mike. So preferred wood to smoke with. We know it's post oak or pecan. So
yeah, pecan is definitely I would say that's my ultimate favorite is pecan. Ultimate favorite.
Nice.
You've mentioned a few people before. Do you have a favorite pitmaster to work with?
Put me on a spot. I mean, I have to go. I mean, there's so many, obviously, but Al Fragoni, I've learned so much from Al over the years, and it's always a good time, and, there's so many out there that I enjoy cooking with, but we've been doing it the longest.
Al's certainly got an energy about him.
He does. Well, and we talk about teaching, right? He's a teacher, right? He really is. His ultimate goal is to teach people, like truly, and you see it. I don't care, young and old, and he deals with it. He has way more patience than I do, and he's just good at teaching. So.
All right, here we go. Favorites, streaming stations or music, or what do what's your go-to music?
Yeah, I have Spotify. That's what I use mostly for my streaming for music. I'm kind of in a Morgan Wallen, Post Malone,
yes.
Ella Langley right now. I mean, I'm kind of in that zone right now. I think it's the more of me laid back, sipping on a bourbon and cooking, feeling, But I listen to everything, to be honest, man. I mean, I listen to anything and everything, but that's my vibe now.
Sweet.
And all of our loyal listeners in Wisconsin always look forward to this question as well. Favorite beverage while barbecuing?
Bourbon. It's bourbon.
Do you have a favorite bourbon? Can we ask?
So that's a tough one right now. Yeah. So there's so many things out there right now. Everybody. I love Weller. Anything Weller. Those are the traditional stuff. Blanton's and stuff like that. But I like finding the unique stuff out there. Bardstown is one that I'm loving right now. I've turned into more of a weeded guy. I mean, I like a good rye. I can drink high proof stuff. It doesn't bother me. But if I'm just like chilling and marinated, I like a good weeded bourbon. So that would be kind of where I'm at.
Well, if we make it down there, we'll bring some bourbon.
Yeah, we'll bring some from Wisconsin here.
Sure.
So.
I love it. I love it.
So, Mike, that wraps up our interview today. We can't thank you enough, but our fans and your fans for sure would love to know what Mike Starr has coming up next, if anything else that you'd like to share.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity. This is super cool. Like I said, anytime you get to chance to tell your story, to a new audience, that's a grateful opportunity, and I thank y'all for that. As far as everything, of course, you can find me on Blazing Star BBQ on all social medias, and my products are blazingstarbbbq.com. New stuff we got going on. Like we're about to launch in Home Depot nationwide with 3 products, our all-in-one, our pork, and our scorpion rub. We just recently got into Ace Hardware's warehouses nationwide with 6 products. So if you have a local Ace Hardware that doesn't carry our products, please reach out to them. Let them know that our products are in their warehouse, because they're more likely to order our products and start carrying them in your local Ace Hardware. For that, event wise, we got an Ace Hardware show coming up in Louisville, Kentucky. So I'm actually going to be in Louisville in bourbon country in less than 2 weeks.
Nice. All right.
And it's actually going to fall on my 50th birthday. So I'm going to turn 50 in Louisville, my first time in Louisville. So I've got some bourbon tours scheduled up for that time frame. And then, of course, the Open Fire meetup, like I said, was going to Memphis in May. So we're bringing Memphis in May, the first ever true world championship of open fire cooking.
Awesome.
And I'm excited to be a part of that and put that together. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, and I'm just blessed for the opportunities.
It's funny to talk about Louisville, because our guest next Sunday, Derek, he's heading down from Smoky Woods Barbecue in northern Wisconsin. He's
nice.
he's heading down to that too, and he's like was telling me about it. So yeah,
I'm
cool.
excited.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Mike, we always like to end our tag is smoke on. So if you wouldn't mind signing in this interview off with smoke on, and anything else you'd like to say, that'd be truly we'd be truly grateful.
Yeah. Once again, I just want to say my pleasure for being on here. Keep the grills hot and smoke on.